Oh, yeah.
Everybody over there, get on up. Everybody right there, get into it. Everybody right there, get involved. Everybody just
Oh, yeah.
Thank you very much for tuning into the newest episode of the CC Show. Today's episode is season 2, episode 5. We have a lot of special guests with us today, and I'm going to allow CC to take over from here and introduce our special guests. So CC, take it away.
Hey everyone. Yeah, we wanted to do this episode. Actually just been kind of thinking on our feet. The second lockdown kind of just had us like in lull, feeling a little bit on drags. We're like, okay, what are we going to do? And so I put out a shout out on Facebook. What should we talk about? Because we always wanted the show to be about what the people wanted or what our neighbors wanted to talk about. And, you know, Jordan was on there and Katrina was on there and Jessa was on there, and they were talking about, you know, we should talk about, you know, queer inclusivity and LGBTQ and Two-Spirit, kind of some of the challenges they face, but then, some of the beauties that they're bringing to the community, and have that space and that perspective. And I thought, oh my goodness, what an amazing thing. And then everyone's like, yeah, Pride's going to drop in June too. So it's like the middle of May, we'll be able to replay this again, and have those safe spaces, safe conversations, and have like queer voices out there that maybe young people or just people in general can feel good about see themselves in, identify with, and feel good. So we didn't have like a super title for the show. I just wanted it to be like a vehicle of welcomeness and inclusiveness, and a space for my friends to be themselves, and to be able to share that with the people around us and our community, especially here in Sault Ste. Marie, because we need it everywhere. Like, we need to paint the walls, so to speak. So I guess I will start. I always start with a land acknowledgement, and then I'll introduce who's here today. So yeah, we're here in Boating, and I have to look up because my camera's way up here. I'm getting a ring light though, guys. So we're here in Boating. Boating is really cool because it's in the middle of the Great Lakes, and the Great Lakes is a very magical place because it's the largest freshwater body in the world. So we, as the people here, have a very important responsibility to protect the land, the waters, and the animals that inhabit this place. Boating is actually the traditional home of the Anishinaabe people, but we also share it with many settler folks and different Indigenous people. So it's a very beautiful place. It is the home of the former residential school, Shingwak Residential School. So it's important to recognize that history and that truth that comes with these lands and these peoples. And it's important when you think about like land acknowledgements to, like, those are kind of my things that I like to mention about our area, because that's what I feel strong about, and that's why I feel connected to Boating. But when you hear these things, when you're in your meetings, when you're in circles, when you're in your 1,000 Zoom meetings, try to think about what land you're on and what, whose traditional home that is, whether it be, the animals or the peoples, and, what body of water are you close to, and is it kept clean, or is it being protected, and, are the animals in your area being protected, things like that. And it makes it a little bit more genuine. And to acknowledge the land and love the people has no race. It has no race, it has no creed. We are all on this earth. We're all on, Mother Earth. So it's just important to take care of the waters, the land, and each other, of course. So after that, long spiel of that's just kind of really important to me, I wanted to, introduce everybody. So we didn't rehearse. We used to rehearse in the beginning of the CC show, and I used to have a script, and it was kind of bad, guys. So we decided to just start talking. I don't know who wants to introduce themselves first. Or Seith, actually, before I scoop that mic right back, Seith, do you have any opening remarks before I throw the mic into our guests?
Yes, my name is DJ Seith. I'm originally from Boating as well, Sault Ste. Marie, Ontario. Lived here for most of my life, and just living in the central part of the city, and being a part of the community, and understanding that the community is all inclusive, right? And that's, I think, what today is really all about. And I'm really excited to kind of have our guests here today. Myself, I've been pretty busy lately, very, very much so on the music grind, making some new stuff for later on in the year to be released, and this and that. And otherwise, we actually just got a new roommate at my house too, who's gone through the whole process of isolating and all that kind of stuff too. And so she's gonna be living with us for the next few months, on and off. She's kind of going between living with us and I think living out on camping and this kind of thing. So yeah, that's part of her work. So we're really excited that we have like a new face in the house, which is kind of bringing a little bit of a breath of fresh air after so long, But yeah, that's pretty much all I have to say.
Amazing. All right. As always, we have our voices for panel guests. We have Jessa, Jordan, and Paris. Which one of you would like to go first? Oh, Jessa, you won that draw. I seen your wave.
I put my hand up, so I guess I was waving, but I'll take it. I'm Jessa Nisbet. I'm a 39-year-old transgender woman from Sault Ste. Marie. I've lived here all my life. I have I'm a graduate of this new college electrical engineering technology program. I have 4 kids and a wife, and I advocate for transgender persons. And that is it. No, I know. I
Heck yeah,
passed it on.
Jessa. Thanks for sharing, bringing your power to the space. Who would like to go next? Paris.
Hi, my name is Paris Gore, but my real name is Lilith William. I am gender nonconforming, which means any pronouns that make you happy and make me happy you can use. There's no wrong pronouns for me personally. I am a drag queen. I've been doing drag for about 10 years, but my main advocacy is towards people living with HIV. Yeah, that's me. Oh, and I'm 30. Am I 33? I'm 32, turning 33.
I forget how old I am all the time. So much power in this room already. Let's hear from Jordan. Jordan.
Hello, I'm Jordan. I am 29 years old. I live in Sault Ste. Marie, Bawatang as well. Graduate from the Community Economic and Social Development Program at Algoma U. And I have tried out a lot of different interests, career paths, and I am just in a position of self-discovery right now. We're doing new things, we're having some fun, and that's what I care about most right now. That's it.
Amazing. Yeah, thanks for answering my call. As I was mentioning earlier, it's just so crazy. You know, just with the second lockdown and vaccines in the air and work and trying to get everything done. And, you know, what's going on overseas and just, you know, the energy in the air. So I've been really drained. So I've just been relying on my social media contacts to tell me what's going on in the world and what we want to talk about. So I was excited to have you folks here today and kind of just create that safe space. Some things we were talking about is before in the past with Jordan is just like, we did a workshop on like body dysmorphia in queer spaces. I think it was something like that. So I wasn't sure if we wanted to talk about that or if there was any other hot topics or if you want to talk to us about some of the advocacy work that you folks are doing in your own rights. I mean, the floor is totally open. And this is so much better than scripted too, I will say.
Yes.
Well, I'm just excited. I'm getting my vaccine tomorrow, so I'm super excited for that. I almost cried when they told me I was getting it.
Yay!
I can't even pronounce today. You'd think I was drinking. I'm only drinking water for once. For what I do is I work mainly with the LGBT youth and people living with HIV because it's really close to my heart. I found drag because I found out I had HIV and I was in a very dark place. I was living in Toronto and I was thinking of killing myself. I had, the stigma behind it is that it makes you feel like you're going to die no matter what. So let's just get it on the road then. But this older drag queen found me, and to be fair, she didn't like me, but she's like, I don't like you, but I don't want you dead. You need to get on with your life. Why don't you do drag? Drag helps a lot of people, especially if they have HIV, find out who they really are, because drag will push whatever's back here, it pushes it forward. So if you're facing, like a lot of people will find out that they're transgender or gender nonconforming through drag, which makes it such a beautiful thing. Like my husband, that's what really pushed him to realize that he was a transgender male. And it's beautiful. To me, it helped me realize that I have a power with my drag, that I can help people that are not in my position. I could be their voice and say, you know, I live with HIV. This is what HIV looks like. And it's beautiful. Like, I'm not ashamed of it anymore. And there are people out there with that, and that's fine. But let me be the voice for you. Like, not everybody has to be open and going on news talking about it or doing podcasts and interviews talking about it. But that's my job. And I love doing it. But that's me.
Cool.
Thank you for taking that on and doing that work. It's so powerful.
Thank you. It's a lot of fun. I love doing it.
I like that you mentioned that too, that you love doing drag, because that's one of the things I think about too when it comes to like any kind of self-expression. I mean, once you find your love in that's really where you can start finding your power. And yeah, you put it beautifully.
Thank you.
Yeah, I think the advocacy work too is there's a vulnerability in that. So it's like really big shoulders. I've done like different public speaking around, living in poverty, or, having, parents in active addiction, or, those who, come from like a background of mental health, or like my mom was a sex worker. So there's those things that, you put yourself out there. And it makes you vulnerable, but it also like empowers you in a way too. So I just wanted to thank you for your bravery and your vulnerability and relate to that definitely.
Thank you. I think you can get strength from being vulnerable.
Mm-hmm.
The more and when people see vulnerability, they see the human being. And a lot of time with drag, at least, when you don't show vulnerability, you're supposed to look like you're not touchable. But to me, that's silly. I want to be vulnerable. I want people see that I'm still a human being under all this makeup. Though I only wear like chapstick, so I don't wear too much chapstick and mascara, and I'm good to go.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. That's really well said too. I think vulnerability is a very important part of any kind of self-expression, whether it be through performance art or through anything like that. Anybody who's trying to be creative in some way or another, as soon as you set yourself up to be this untouchable, other thing, you're really setting yourself up for a lot of failure. It's tough. It's really hard to hang on to that. And it is important for people to know that yes, there is a human being behind these things that are created, and these creative acts that we put out into the world. There is definitely a human being behind it. I also believe that there's actually something to be said about the creative act or the creative art that you're putting out in the world having its own life as well once you put it out there, right? And anybody who's a parent out there knows that vulnerability is important as well too, because when you're raising a child, or in the case of creating art, showing yourself as vulnerable is allowing that art to be able to be something more connectable as well too, right? And whatever that art or that message is, if it's more connectable because of the person being vulnerable, then that's going to mean that it's going to reach more people and therefore make a better and stronger impact. So
yeah,
kind of reminds me of Jessa's Instagram, because you see a lot of just inspirational Instagrams and that trans story, but Jessa, your Instagram is really real and inspiring, and you're yourself and you're vulnerable. Can you talk a bit about that?
Yeah, so I find it really important, and I know there's a taboo around passing and not passing in the trans community, and I feel like and people will argue with me, but as a non-passing trans woman, and I'm okay with that. There's you go back to the vulnerability. There's some vulnerability there in not passing and being open and out in the public and online. But putting yourself out there and there's nothing wrong with passing. If that's what you're going for, if that's what makes you comfortable, that's fine. But I think that there's nothing wrong with not wanting to pass either. And I think it's important in a way that if you don't pass and you're not stealth, people can tell that you're trans. Other people who, might have some, might feel like they are trans, or they're unsure, they don't know how people will in the public will take them coming out and being trans, that seeing other openly trans people in society, really helps them to see that it's okay, and that it will be okay, and that they might be able to also come out. And I think that's really important. And since I've been out and been online, I've had a lot of people contact me individually and be like, I see your posts online and on Facebook too, and they're like, what do I do? I know I'm trans. What do I do now? And so I take time to guide those people, like, okay, it's a big step. These are the kind of things that you can do, especially locally, to move forward. And then when you talk about advocacy online, one particular story. There's this one trans girl online that I follow, and she's constantly posting like really negative posts about like really hating her life and stuff. And I always try to like just to go and try to make her feel okay, even though she's not okay and she can't do anything about it. It's still taking the time to make sure that those people are okay, because they could be like not post tomorrow and harm themselves, or any number of things. So it's important to be active in the community, I think, and that's why I try to online and in person, and just try to help other trans people in the community. Lots of stuff. No.
Oh, it's amazing. I appreciate you and your presence, in our community and online, and the way you portray yourself, and your aura. I just love Jessa. Jordan, how you feeling over there, buddy? I haven't heard from you. I know I met Jordan in university, and I'm surprised you came on the show today, buddy. Jordan's like a powerhouse organizer in the background. So Jordan's been using his voice a lot more, and I love the sound of Jordan's voice. How you doing, man?
Well, thank you. I don't do a lot of talking. I'm like the person who works behind the scenes behind somebody like CC, who likes to do more talking. But I would say like a lot of my experiences in advocacy kind of go everywhere but in the LGBTQ plus community. And I think that comes from like my own discomfort with my own identity. I can advocate. Well, I mean, I obviously advocate where I can online and stuff, but I've never volunteered for an organization. I've never been to a pride event. I've never been out there in the community doing that stuff under that flag. And I think, this is pretty recent for me. Like I only kind of came to terms with myself a few years ago. So kind of, I don't know. I think I come to these things, and I did that body positivity in the queer community workshop with CC in the fall. That's actually the first thing I've ever done under any kind of LGBTQ plus banner. So I'm really looking just to learn, and I get inspired by people every single day, like who fight for what they believe in and fight for people. And I want to get involved. I'm like a queer baby. I'm still learning.
Oh, you're so cute. And I think it's like, you don't want to tokenize people either, just like, oh, because you're queer, or you identify anywhere on that rainbow, that you should be going and doing that kind of advocacy. Like, what if you just want to be a gardener? You know what I mean? I remember when I was taking CSD at Algoma, a prof said to me, well, now you should go get your master's in Indigenous studies, like out east. And I'm like, why? It's not even my focus. I do a lot of work with Indigenous youth and a lot of studying, and I'm learning more about ceremony and, identity reclamation, but I'm reclaiming my identity. I'm not about to go try to be an expert on it. I'm learning. That's my journey. So to cast that, right? So, there's also that line too, Jordan. You don't have to do advocacy. You could just live your life and just be badass.
Yeah,
that's okay too.
You don't have to be the forefront of the LGBT community.
Mm-hmm.
That's our job, as a drag queen, and then we have a transgender woman over here. That's our job to stand up there for you. We were always at the top line for it. You don't have to be, but we know we have your back, and that's what's important. You have our back. We are a chosen family, so if that means that you need to be behind the scenes, that's fine. You don't have to be at the forefront, because you're still loved and you're still cherished.
Exactly.
I think social media has sorry to cut you off, Shane, I'll give you a minute. I think social media has like a huge impact. We don't notice it, but on the youth, especially now that we're like also isolated. So even the fact that you're openly yourself on social media, you and your partner, post, good pictures of yourselves when you're looking cute and have your matching outfits, or, that you went on an adventure together and that you were able to live your best lives in that way, and safely do so, or bravely do so, because we're here in Sault Ste. Marie. is huge enough, right? One of my I don't rap very often, but sometimes I do. And one of my lines is like, me being alive is a protest. So like, you know, sometimes just being yourself and being resilient in it, especially in like our colonial, our capitalism, our patriarchal society that's like, you know, kind of feels closing in right now in these times. Just doing it and getting through and being yourself is enough, if that makes sense too.
It does, for sure. And let me tell you something about Sault Ste. Marie, and that something that surprised me, because you hear so many negative stories about Sault Ste. Marie all the time, about all the, you know, the rampant drug use, the thefts, you know, all that sort of stuff. Being out in Sault Ste. Marie has been an unexpected joy. Like, I have to say that, you know, 99% of the people that I've come in contact with have been not so much supportive, but people here will smile at you, and you know, I've never received like a negative. Nobody's ever made a negative comment in this town, and it's surprising because we're such like a conservative, like blue collar town, where people like all these industrial workers, and you figure it would be more conservative minded, but you'll actually find that people are actually in this town are really accepting, and that really surprised me. You know, when I just being out in the community, people in this town are actually really cool. Yeah, so surprising.
Shout out Sault Ste. Marie. We're evolving. What were you gonna say, Seith? Sorry, sometimes Seith, we just take that mic from him.
I wanted to loop back to something that Paris Gore had said, which is a term I've heard before, and I think I understand it, but maybe for some of the viewers that are watching right now that might not have heard it before, which was the term chosen family. I think that's a really important term to maybe give a little bit more definition and light on to. So Paris, did you want to give us a bit of a quick rundown? What does chosen family mean to you?
So chosen family means to me is in the LGBT community, and sometimes even in the straight community, you will be kicked out of your family for being who you actually are. So for us LGBTQ plus people is we are given this opportunity of our community. Our community is our family. Majority of the time, our family will be there for everybody no matter what. You would have to do the most horriblest things for us to say, nope, we're done, you gotta go. But we are a family, we have each other's back. That's a chosen family. I have drag kids. They're like children to me. I am a mother bear to them. I would do anything for them. That's my family. That's my chosen family. Anytime I meet somebody that is a younger transgender person, a gender nonconforming, non-binary, gay, the whole alphabet mafia, I am a mama bear to them. I will do anything for them.
That's beautiful.
That's chosen family, for me at least. Now, I had a family that was very supportive. You know, my mom accepted me for being who I am. When I thought I was transgender, my mom immediately goes, well, that makes sense. And then I found when I started doing drag, she's like, that makes more sense for you. My mom passed away a few years ago. My dad passed away before he could even find out that I was gay or gender nonconforming. But my dad was, we had to find out that my dad was gay, so it would have been fine both ways. So I got lucky with my family, but I know that's not the case for most people. So I choose to be their parent, to mother them, or to be their father, whatever they need in that moment to make their lives better. Whether that be that they're behind the scenes or in front of the scenes, I'm there for you.
Very cool. Very cool. Well said too. Thank you.
Thank you, Paris. So much passion, and I believe it, and I'm grateful for your mothering in the community, or fathering, like that kind of under your wing. I'm so grateful.
I definitely relate to the chosen family. You know, when I came out as transgender, my wife's family accepted me completely, but my own family, you know, has my mom's side of my family hasn't been as accepting. And my mom, she says she loves me, but she doesn't agree with me being transgender. And to me, that's like, well, you don't really love me then, because if you loved me, you'd want me to be happy and you'd accept me for how I am. And it's been really hard. So having like Paris said, having a chosen family is really important to protect yourself and to make sure that your mental health is good and that you're happy.
Well, I'm just gonna say this. I'm very happy that you're here. I appreciate you and thank you for everything. And if I start crying, it's all on you, okay?
All right. Thank you.
You felt that too, right?
Yeah.
Felt that too. I'm
My
like,
heart.
oof, oof.
I wish my mom could have met somebody like you. My mom would have just hugged you and hold you. I grew up in a family where being transgender was the most normalist thing in the world. That science backs it. Science there. They're Catholic too, and they were completely like, nope, science backs this. So anytime somebody in our life came out as transgender, it was very important that we cherish them. I think that's also because like we are Native at the end of the core too, and our traditions that's a known thing. Like they're transgender people, they're two-spirited people.
Right.
You know, they're valid. So I wish you could have met her. She would have just loved you to pieces.
She sounds amazing. It's really awesome to have, you know, that sort of family, and that's one of the reasons why I didn't come out earlier, was because I knew my family wasn't supportive. So it's just like, okay, I'm just gonna stick that in the box, and it's just gonna stay in the box, and you know. But I'm very lucky to have a very amazing wife who is still with me after coming out, and she's been an amazing supporter. So I'm very lucky. You know, you just have to take the family that you have and cherish them.
Yes.
The family that supports you.
Yes, very much.
Absolutely.
And friends. You guys are all awesome.
Yeah. Well,
I know.
I've known you for well more than half of our life, right? I mean, like, you know, when I met back up with you after a few years of having not seen you for a while, you know, we caught up and everything like that. I remember the conversation quite clearly, and you know, you were talking very passionately about how, you know, you were just about to come out, and you know, and all this kind of stuff. And I was just so happy to have been part of that conversation. I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, you know, one of my good friends from a very, very long time ago, who we've known each other forever, is now finally like entering a new chapter in their life, you know, and they're sharing it with me. And I just was super honored and super grateful to have been chosen as part of your family to be able to share that with me. So thank you for that.
I remember that night very well. It was a very excellent night. We won't talk about like my condition that night, but it was very excellent night. Good times.
For maybe an off-camera story, but
yeah, off-camera story.
What happened there stays there.
Yeah, good time. It was at the jail rave, so you can the Halloween jail rave. You can just imagine.
That'd be so fun.
What's it
for people that are outside of our Sault Ste. Marie community? We did have at one point an abandoned jail that we turned into a rave party for a Halloween before COVID hit, and it was an amazing night, and yeah.
That's epic. Yeah, pretty awesome.
I want to go to one of those.
I want to go anywhere.
Same.
Yeah.
Please take me anywhere.
Northern Vibe 2021. No, I don't know. I'm just joking.
I don't know. If they have a bunker underground somewhere playing rave music, inbox me, y'all.
Yeah.
I'm ready.
Shouts to Bobby Lawn for that idea too. We got to give shouts to Bobby Lawn for that idea.
Yeah, I remember in high school I dated a few girls, and like I wasn't really sexually active, so well, and it still counted, but I was you know, not having sex with them, but I was dating a few girls. And my dad like immediately got wind of it. There was this one girl I was dating, and her mom knew about it too, and they were like, oh no, you're not doing that, like you're not lesbians, like no, you're just playing a game. And we're like, well, no, like I really like her, and like, you know, we're gonna like date. And they were like, no, you're just playing a game. so I don't know, I kind of got like discouraged and never dated girls after that. And like I do identify as straight, but like, you know, maybe I wouldn't have, like maybe I would have like been bi or just been free to explore that without being told like if I was one or the other or
Right.
somewhere in between, like if I could have just discovered that as a teenager. Like
Mhm.
so I hope for our next generation, and I do see it more. I see, yes, there's the stories like of the unsupportive parents, but I do see more parents like actually asking their kid what they feel like their pronouns are and actually asking their kid how they want to present themselves to the world, and you know, actually allowing their kid when they have those talks about, you know, boyfriends and girlfriends, that you could have boyfriends or girlfriends or just people, you could just love someone.
Yeah, like why
Right.
why should anyone care? Like
Yes.
like I don't understand it. It's like, who cares if your son wants to, you know, date a boy or date someone who's non-binary, or the same thing with your daughter, or maybe who cares if they're trans? Who cares if they're non-binary? Like, why does it matter? Like, I just don't get. Is it like, do parents feel like they've failed somehow? Like, I try to understand, because I'm very open in my household, and I've never felt like, you know, that I've failed as a parent. So there has to be like, there has to be some like programming that some parents have that tells them, oh, you know, if my kid doesn't fit the conformity, that they've failed. And I just don't understand it.
Mhm.
Well,
It's like they think, oh, what were you gonna say, Paris?
sorry. I think what it is that a lot of people have been brainwashed that heteronormativity is what's the only exception. Before Christianity, gay people, transgender people, non-binary people existed for thousands of years.
Right.
And then white civilization came along and said, that's what's wrong. That's wrong. You're not allowed to do these things because this book that some man wrote says this, and that's not reality for everybody. So it's brainwashed. You're brainwashed to thinking this is what it's going to be, and that's the only way it can be. But this is not life. We're the only animals that have homophobia and transphobia. Other species experience all these other things, and they're perfectly fine with it, you know. So that's where I think that's where that comes from.
I would agree, right in there with the whole intertwined system of capitalism and colonialism and patriarchy, just kind of brainwashed us.
Cisnormative, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
cisnormative. Yeah.
cisnormative. Yeah, those words are good too. How's everyone else feeling? I don't want to get too much in it because I try to like make sure the space is for my peeps, you know. But sometimes you got to like talk too.
I had a question for Jordan, if he's willing to take it on, and maybe just a little bit like a self-defeating question, but can you talk to us a little bit about your experience with advocacy behind the scenes? Because I feel like there may be a lot of other people that are watching this episode today that may also want to be behind the scenes advocates. They don't necessarily want to be a CC or a Seith or a Paris or anything like that, but they want to jump in and they want to help somehow. So could you maybe talk a little bit about your experience with behind the scenes advocacy?
Yeah, for sure. I think a lot of it comes from, I have the passion for it, but I don't always, maybe I don't have the time or I don't have the social skills at certain times in my life to be out there on stage making a speech, or be up there performing, or be up there, whatever it is. And a lot of stuff that I've done has been like, I did a lot of food security work. I worked in community gardens. I worked in food rescuing from restaurants. When we did a Youth Odena event, I was a part of negotiating the caterer for the event. Like all these little things that have to go on in order to make these big events happen, or make people feel like they have a place to come to. Like, I would be the guy who's out there like, I'm gonna go do the maintenance on the queer youth center. You know what I mean? Like, I'm the guy who's like gonna find a way to contribute where I don't have to be the face of it. So I guess those are just a few examples. I'm not sure if that fully answers the question, but that's my experience anyway.
No, that's really good. I think it's really good to be able to actually talk about that kind of thing too, for a lot of people that maybe feel a little bit intimidated by, you know, having to come out and talk and like, you know, like, hey, I want to be on this team that I feel like I'm a part of, like family, but I don't I don't want to talk. I don't want to be in front of people, but yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes. So thank you very much for sharing.
That reminds me of doing Youth Dana errands. And it was before I had a vehicle, and it was before you had your new vehicle, and you had the handle that wouldn't, like, it would come right off of your car. And so we'd go to do these Youth Dana errands, like, I don't know, bringing a bunch of food or art supplies to the Indigenous Friendship Center for like a parking lot party or something. So we'd go to like load up his car, and yeah, he had to like open it and shut it for you like a chauffeur, because he had a certain way, or else the whole handle would just fall off. Anyways, good times. You have a new car now. What?
I do, yeah. Blessed.
Yeah.
And you're also in a management position in work, although it's like COVID, but those things are pretty cool just because, like, I don't know, queer representation in society. You know what I mean? I don't know what that's like, but I imagine.
Yeah, I mean,
other folks do.
If I can go off on a bit of a tangent for a second, because I don't do that very often. I think that having the representation is so super important. Like seeing people like Jessa and like Paris out there on the internet, out there performing, out there doing what they're doing, I think is really special, because I think maybe a lot of you folks here might relate to this, but I definitely came into myself in like the mid 2000s when I was in high school, when like the internet was a thing and my parents didn't know what the internet was, but I did. And I was like confused and scared and just doing awful and dangerous things that really are not okay. And I think that seeing people in positions of authority and seeing people in public positions and in advocacy positions that are like them, I think that really is going to make a difference, like for our own kids and for beyond that. Like they won't have to resort to being scared, hating themselves, and finding themselves in a dangerous situation. You know what I mean? Like, I think that it just makes such a big difference, and that's why I like being involved in everything that we do. So,
well said. Well said.
100%.
Thank you for sharing just about some of those experiences and your growth for other people who might be watching. Because yeah, when you're young and you're vulnerable, so like I said, I moved out when I was 15, like, and you're exploring yourself and you're discovering your identity and your sexuality and maybe your gender and all of it, and just maybe figuring out how to eat and survive. It's really important, like, to just be mindful of who's around you and the company you keep, or where you put yourself, because you're more vulnerable, right? And there could be predators around. So, or if you're a predator watching this, don't be a predator. Don't be a friggin' creep. Leave the kids alone. Let them be kids and discover their identities.
Yeah.
In a beautiful self-evolving way. And in that way. So it's also our responsibility, as I would say, I'll speak for myself, as a youth leader or just a young person who leads in our community, to uphold that, to take care of our young people, to not victimize them, and to call out any acts of victimization against young people, women, gay people, queer people, non-binary. Like, if I fucking see it, I'm gonna call you out. Sorry the F-bomb, but like,
No,
I have no time for that.
True.
warranted.
Absolutely. Yeah. No,
No,
it's
I have-
important to call that out for sure. Sorry, go ahead.
I have this thing, like, you might idolize somebody, but if they do something that's problematic that needs to be called out, call them out. Otherwise, you're just wasting everybody's time. This person will never grow from it. If you know somebody in your life, like if you have a child and you tell your child, hey, your uncle's coming home, you need to put different clothes on, you need to get a new uncle. You need to kick that person out of your house. We used to get told that all the time. It's not appropriate. That uncle doesn't need to be coming around there then. That's those type of people that don't need to be in your life. Call problematic people out, because that just needs to go. Kids need to learn to experience who they are on their own, not with a grown ass person doing weird things. Sorry.
No, I fully 100% am behind that. Yeah, 100%. You need to make sure that you're calling them out. It doesn't matter what position they may hold. in whatever social structure they may have found themselves weaseled into. If they're doing something problematic, call it out,
For sure.
I think it's important too, like call out the act and tell the person you need to shape this up, before you can continue to, continue to play here, right? Or whatever, you need to shape this up. But,
Yeah, I just take my auntie job really seriously, and like just with some of the young people, I do. Like I do not
I get
ever yeah, and some of the situations I work in, or young people I work with, or just people that I've known throughout my life that are, were once youngins and are now becoming youth and young adults, and I see them get victimized, and it just makes me roll. So I just wanted to shout out to like other young leaders like myself, like Paris, like Jessa, like Jordan, like Shane, that create like real safe spaces for youth that, aren't grooming or aren't, victimizing or playing on these young people, because, they're just such beautiful spirits that need to grow. So I just want to create like a safer community for young people like that, because a lot of the time too, if you're like, for myself, I was a young Indigenous poor kid with no money, or if you're a queer kid floating around looking for somewhere, a community, or whatever your story may be, where you're looking for a sense of belonging, right? So it's important for us, and to spread that social norm, that standard for other young professionals our age that are in this age group, the 25 to 35 to even 45, this young professional group, to make sure that we're having a good moral standard for our next generation, so to speak.
Yeah.
Anyways, I'll throw the mic back in. I'm like, this is really important to me, Bill.
It's an important conversation. It's 100% important conversation that needs to happen.
Yeah, for sure. It's I'm always looking out for anybody that's performing music, especially in the same realm that that I started up in, which was hip hop. I'm still in that kind of circle of like musicians and like local musicians. I find that there's a lot of predatory behavior from people outside of the community, where obviously prior to COVID, putting on shows and like, you need to sell this many tickets so you can have your opening spot and this and that. It's like, no, these aren't proper practices that are being put into place across the board, or across the board, right? This is somebody that's trying to take advantage of your creative talent and your drive to want to express yourself. And, they're trying to take you for a run and make you into this worker that is doing this job that you didn't get into doing. If you wanted to become a promoter, you would have been a promoter. If you want to be a musician, you are going to be a musician, right? And so, yeah, just kind of making sure that the younger ones are educated, having seen it, gone through it and everything like that. Thankfully, I was able to avoid it when I was kind of coming up, and I didn't really get too caught up into the whole like pay to play thing. But yeah, there are, it's good to be, have your eyes open and keep your eyes open for the younger generation, for sure. So
yeah, no, 100%.
And you're talking about safe spaces, and I know Katrina's not on this interview, but she operates a safe space for youth, and I think that's fantastic. Talking about looking out for youth, there's a professional person who's actively looking out for youth, and that's really admirable.
Yeah, shouts to Katrina for sure.
Huge shouts to Katrina. I've been so grateful to work with Katrina for quite a few years, but that space is amazing. I've seen it in action. She's shared the space with me and my vulnerable youth that I work with, so that we have a safe space to go to, and I'm just really grateful. And she started doing that years ago, when folks made it seem like there was so many barriers, and it would be such a taboo thing for her to invite other people's children to talk about their queer identity. Like, how dare she do such a thing? But it was so needed, and now it's so accepted and gets community praise, and people love it, and that's what we need to do. We need to make them love it, because we're worth it, we're lovable, we're here, right? But so kudos to Katrina for making them love it. And
also, I think it's really important too to take note too that anything that is really revolutionary that like sticks in smaller communities such as Sault Ste. Marie, it only sticks because there's a lot of heart and dedication around it, and a lot of people that believe in it. You know what I mean? And it starts with one person that took that leap, and that's Katrina, right? She took that leap.
Yeah.
She had her belief, and she said, you know what? Despite everything else, I'm going for this, and it's going to be something wonderful. And she stuck with it, and now it's like here, it's palpable, it's real, it's in our community, and we love it, and we want to keep it around. You know, prior to it existing, people didn't have any. The other thing that I see a lot is there's a lot of times where people will think, oh, well, that could never work, or this could never be this, or that could never be that, because I don't have any kind of paramount to kind of compare it to. Like, this hasn't worked in the past because it's never been tried, so therefore we should just never try it. Well, that's flawed thinking, you know.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
What other resources are available? Like, I know Coach K is throwing down at the club. What else is out there for use, or even just for people?
So if you're anybody in Sault Ste. Marie that's living with HIV, or you have a relative that has it and you're looking for any programming, HARP at the Group Health Center is a really good program. It's the one that I donate most of my money towards. They do they'll help pay for new teeth, they'll help pay for food, they'll pay for anything that you actually need. It's an amazing program. Even if you don't know anybody with HIV and you just want to learn about it, about the proper safe sex etiquette of dating somebody with it, or just knowing at all, they'll give you all the information. The most thing I can suggest to anybody right now, if you are sexually active, talk to your doctor about PrEP. If you slept with somebody with HIV in 72 hours, there's a thing called PEP, and that will actually get rid of HIV. It gives a pretty high percentage that you will not have HIV within a 72-hour window period. So those are like the two main things. If you think you've slept with somebody with HIV, don't panic. It's not the end of the world. Go call them. They'll do the whole thing and they'll figure it out for you. But yeah, that's an amazing program for anybody. It's not just for gay people. It's for straight people, because HIV is just not a gay disease. It's an anybody disease.
That's amazing. I never knew that. I'm like, what if that ever happens to me? And now I'll know, right?
Yeah,
I didn't
PEP
know
is your
about
best
that
friend.
at all.
Yeah.
Cool.
Do you know anything else that's like out there?
As far as trans persons, I found out there isn't really a lot of good resources, especially when it comes to healthcare. Like, you can find information online, but when it comes to like local healthcare, there's not a lot of information. You can contact Algoma Public Health, and they have some very basic information, but most of the information I had to find about trans healthcare, I had to do it from other trans people. But definitely the first place to start, if you think you're trans, is to talk to your doctor. You kind of want to feel out your doctor first, because some doctors are just not, you know your doctor. But if you feel your doctor, you could talk to your doctor about it. Otherwise, talk to a trans person. There are doctors in town that do specifically handle trans healthcare. And I'm not going to name call them because, but name drop them, sorry. But if anyone wants their information, I will gladly provide it if anyone wants to reach out. I'm lucky, in my own doctor handles my trans healthcare, but not every doctor will. That's why it's important to know what other doctors in town do handle it, and there is a few. So yeah, that's what I know. And Sue Pride also does a lot of trans stuff, so they could be a good resource as well.
Cool, thank you. I was wondering. And yeah, it seems like there's not a lot. I feel like you folks are kind of like trailblazers in a sense. And I'm excited to see where it is in like 10 years. And like,
not so word of mouth anymore.
Yeah, well, and because I know, and I'm grateful to have you folks on the show, but like, just having one identity doesn't necessarily make you a safe person. or it doesn't necessarily mean you have good advice. Or if you're getting your hormones from the street and not from your doctor, and you're talking to somebody else and giving that word of mouth advice, right? So there is like those worlds of unsafety that I worry about, like, you know, younger people, or just maybe desperate people, desperate to be their true selves, right?
And a lot of people do it yourself, and they'll order their hormones over the internet, and they'll follow guides that they find on the internet in areas where it may not be safe to get hormones from their doctor, or where maybe they're too young and they need their parents involved. You know, they might choose to do it yourself, but that's why it's always good to you know, to advocate, because you know, talking to those people, maybe there's a resource that you can help them find that isn't getting their hormones off the street.
No, for real. I'm not an expert in this area, but if anybody's watching, like any young person who wants to be like referred, or just wants to have that conversation of who they could talk to next, they're more than welcome to reach out to me about that. And I could try to like just connect you, ask around, ask what's going on, because I don't want folks to feel like they have to just be desperate with the information like that. And and I appreciate the work, like Jessa, you mentioned behind the scenes, you have conversations with people. In Paris, you're doing a lot of like out in the community work, that you're able to be like safe pillars for people. So we can have more of these conversations, so it's like less stigmatized and becomes a little bit more crisp in that way.
My advice for anybody that's young and transgender would be, you're going to want to pass right away. You're going to want to push all these things. And you have to remember that at the end of the day, those things don't matter. What matters is what's here. Matters what's your sanity. Take things at your pace, but take it at a slow pace, because if you push things too hard, you're going to break. And that's why we get so many suicides, because you're seeing these people on social media that are transgender women or transgender men, and they're the passing. Passing's not important. It's important that you stay with us, you realize that you are validated, and that's what's important. It breaks my heart to hear people going, I want to be stealth, I want to be a passing. That shouldn't be your main goal. Your main goal needs to be you. And that's the most important thing. And try not to get your hormones off the street. If you're younger, there are outlets where you can go to a doctor's and tell them, I don't have a safe parent, I can't tell them this. Some doctors will try to help you as much as they possibly can, whether that be just getting you into therapy to help figure things out, whether that be that if you're at least 16 years old, they'll try to help you get the hormones that you can get without your parents' consent.
And some other good information is that if you're under 25 years of age, OHIP will cover your hormones as long as you get the form filled out by your doctor, and that's super awesome. So
yeah, I didn't know that.
Super awesome. I did not know that.
Yeah,
It's cool.
Yeah. How you feeling, Jordan? I seen your camera go off a little bit. You doing good in there, buddy?
I'm doing amazing. I just had something that I had to take care of, so I did not need to be on camera for that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. What's up, Steve?
Well, yeah, I really enjoyed this conversation. There was a lot of really good information, and I'm hoping it's reaching the people that need to hear it for sure. And that, you know, obviously I just want to kind of like echo your sentiment, CC, about, you know, that I also want to be a resource to try to connect people to, you know, if they need to, you know, get in touch or something like that, you know, talk to me as well too. Our email is scrolling along the bottom. It's ccandseith@gmail.com. If you're not sure, and you know, maybe you're not really necessarily comfortable with, you know, people that you're talking to, you can reach out to us, and maybe we can put you in touch with some resources in our neighborhood that can help, you know, steer things a little bit better and, you know, make things easier. You know, that's, you know, it's knowledge sharing, right? So.
Absolutely. Yeah. And of course, stay safe. And I don't know if that was like your prompt because we're getting closer to time. Honestly, I didn't check the time this time. I've just been absorbing the information and what everyone had to say. But I thank everyone for their bravery, their work in the community, sharing your own personal stories, coming, you know, with your face and your voice. That makes you really brave. And I feel honored to just be a part of your journey, your process, to have crossed your paths, that you even give me the time of day. Those kinds of things are, you know, it's important to be mindful, especially during these times, this new history together, that these little things are kind of making history, right? So if you're out there, as I was saying, call home, phone home, phone your chosen family, phone them up. Don't let yourself be too lonely during these times. It can be hard, but I'd rather have you phone home and come home than not at all. And yeah, I don't know if anyone else has any closing words. I get a little sentimental. I don't know. It's just in the air. I've been emotional all day.
Same. I've been wanting to cry all day too. I'm in a good mood, but I want to cry, and I don't know what it is. I'm sitting there, I'm singing around the house, and I'm like, oh. But I just want to thank you guys so much for letting us have this platform to talk. It means a lot, especially as you said that, you identify as straight, and allowing us queer people to come here and have this conversation is very, very important. We need more allies like that. It's very, very important for this type of conversations, that younger kids and even older people see that there are people out there that are living these different lives, and it's okay. So thank you so much.
Thank you. See, now I'm gonna cry. Here we go.
I agree. Thank you, CC, for allowing us to come onto your platform and be able to again advocate and spread a good message about about the queer community and queer issues. Seith, you as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
And Jordan and Paris as well for being on and having this talk. It's been really fantastic. And for everyone else out there, stay in school, don't do drugs.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cool. All right.
Jordan?
Oh, me, yeah, okay. I want to echo actually what Paris said about, and even Jessa touched on it as well, about having these spaces with people like CC and Seith, because I think having friends like that becoming an adult is really what allowed me to be comfortable in myself and be who I am now. So allowing those spaces is super important, and I definitely appreciate it a lot. So thank you so much for all that.
You're so welcome. And Jordan, you're not my gay best friend, you're my best friend, right? Like, it just is, right? So like, it doesn't have to be like a tokeny type thing all the time. It's normal. It's normal for people of all genders and sexualities to come together and be safe, right? Like, he's not, Jordan, his sexuality, he's Jordan, and that's my best friend. So I love you, buddy.
Love you.
Love you. Okay, Shane, I'll give you the mic now. I'm emotional.
Okay, thank you guys so much for joining us on the CC show today, and thank you everybody for tuning in. We will be sorry, I'm getting all tongue-tied now after all those sentiments out there. We will be back in 2 weeks for another new episode of the CC show. Tune in next weekend for a repeat of this episode. And yeah, that's about it. Always stay safe, be out, be yourself, be who you are. And if you need to talk, you can always reach out to us, ccandseith@gmail.com. My Instagram handle is @DJ Seith. CC's is Activism Is My Life. And the other Instagram handles for the other guests of the show today are going to be scrolling along the bottom for the ones that are sharing it. So be sure to follow them up on Instagram and social media, and let's get that conversation continuing, and like, let's carry this energy forward. So with that, we'll close it out, and I'm just going to switch over to the music. Peace, guys.
Get it. Come on, man.
Let's go.
Get it.
Peace, y'all.